Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you my two-step secret to a bigger and tighter bass sound today. To start off here, let me play you the finished bass as it sits in the final mix, and then I will take off these two moves here, and I will show you the original bass as it sits in the final mix, and you can hear the difference, the before and the after, that these two moves make on the bass sound. Here is with the two moves in. Now let me take off these two moves and let me play you the bass sound without these moves in, and you can hear how it sits in the mix. So without these two EQs in to help focus our bass sound inside the mix, without them, the bass is pretty messy sounding. It doesn't have a very focused low end. It kind of goes in and out. We put these two moves in, our low end becomes immediately focused, and our bass sound really tightens up inside the mix. So let's break down what we're doing here. Let's start with our DI. So we have two basses here. We have a DI, and then we also have a signal coming from the amp. So let me play you what they each sound like by themselves. We'll take off the processing here on the bus as well. So here's the raw DI bass. Nope, seems I have them grouped here. We'll take them out of group. Here's the DI. So that's our DI signal. Let's go over, let's take a listen to our amp sound. Listening to our two options here, there's a couple things to take note of. One, our DI sound has a more focused low end. It's tighter, it's a little less messy, and our amp sound has a little bit more mid-range point to it. So that's where we're gonna get a little bit more of our mid-range energy to help it sit with the guitars. But the low end has a little bit more character to it. It's not as tight, it's not as pristine. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make two moves. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna isolate the low end on our bass, and we're gonna do that on the DI. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna turn our DI bass into just our low end energy. That's what we're gonna do to start here. So here's our EQ on our DI bass. All we're using here is just the low end energy. We have our low pass filter or our high cut rolled up to 180 hertz. We're using a 24 dB per octave slope to really hone in on this area and get a nice, tight, focused bass sound. We're also rolling off some of the low end here, but that's not as big of a deal as our high cut here. We can always roll off the low end down the road on our bus, which we do anyway. That is the first thing we're doing here. Take a listen to the DI bass, just the low end. Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording. Just wanted to quickly interrupt this video to let you know about my brand new vocal mixing masterclass that I just released. where I walk you through 6 different vocal mixes in 6 different styles to show you the techniques and strategies I use to build out pro-level vocals. Click the link in the description to get yourself access to this new masterclass, and now back to the rest of the video. Isolating the low end like this, especially on the DI, gives us a clean and focused signal for our low end. So we have one fader to control our low end. So our low end's not jumping all over the place. There's not two basses both putting out low end information that could be phasing with each other or that are competing with each other. We have one dedicated channel for our bass low end, and in this case it is our DI because it's the cleaner signal of the 2 options. Next, our second step here is we're going to go to our amp channel and we're going to make this just our high end information. So we'll click our plugins on here. This is our EQ for our amp channel. We're just using 180 hertz and up. So we're using the opposite set of frequencies here. So same thing, we've got our low cut in, and we got it set at 180 hertz, a 24 dB per octave slope, so it's very focused on just this frequency range and above. So what we're doing here, just to recap, we're setting our bass DI as our low end and our bass amp as our high end. Take a listen to our bass amp sound now. Using this strategy, we are capitalizing on the benefits or the pros of both of these tracks. Our bass DI has a nice, tight, and focused low end coming from it, and our bass amp has a lot of good mid-range point to it. So we're isolating those 2 frequencies on the 2 channels. We're making our bass DI just our low end energy. That way we have a good channel, a good clean low end coming in, and then we're making our bass amp our high end information. So we get that nice mid-range point and we get that high end character coming off of our bass amp. So when we put them together, take a listen to what we have. I'll A/B the 2 EQs here and you can hear how the bass sound changes from being nice, tight, and focused, having a big low end, to being a little bit messy, a little bit phasey sounding, and it's not as focused. These 2 moves, these 2 EQs take our bass sound from being nosy and messy and inconsistent to having a nice, big, tight, focused low end, and we have a nice point on the mid-range section. So let's put our processing back in here on the bus, and we will take a listen to the finished bass sound one more time in the final mix. Here we go. By dedicating a channel of the bass to the low end and dedicating a channel to the high end, it gives us the opportunity to really focus our low end energy and get it consistent inside the mix. You can hear without these 2 EQs, without separating the frequency ranges on our bass guitar, we don't have a consistent low end, we don't have a powerful low end, and we don't quite have the mid-range energy we need to sit it with the guitars. We kick these two EQs in, our low-end energy becomes focused, it tightens up, and it stays consistent throughout this passage in the song. And we can kick just our guitars in here, and you can hear they kind of make that nice pyramid shape you want to hear from your guitars and bass. You have your nice two guitars sitting up here, and your bass really holds down that low-end foundation for your song. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave any questions or comments you do have down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.